Welcome back to another episode of the Virtual GM Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 2, and today we've got a virtual GM in the hot seat, and she is going to talk about a day in the life of a VGM, starting from when we very first came out with the program. You're not going to believe the evolution of our proven process, and at the end, we're going to give you 3 tips on how you can have a more effective phone presence for your property. Stay tuned, like and subscribe, and most importantly, enjoy the episode.
Hey, welcome back to the Virtual GM Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 2. Today we're going to be talking about life as a VGM. I'm your co-host, Megan.
I am so proud of you. That was such a good introduction. Take a breath. Did you breathe at all when you said that?
No, I don't think so.
Well, as Megan said, this is Episode 2. This is the Virtual GM Podcast. And what is so exciting, everyone's been clamoring for this. We've got so much feedback. People want to hear from virtual GMs. You know, it is such an amazing program. I love what we do for our properties. I love what we do for you guys as moms. I love that we've created this incredible opportunity for moms who are at home with their children to still be able to provide and participate in the workforce and have adult interactions and conversations and keep that sanity in that way, right? Like it's such an incredible thing that we've created. And as this is the Virtual GM Podcast, we've always wanted to have you guys on the podcast to be able to talk about it. We did have Becca on in Scottsdale.
Oh, right. And it didn't record.
It didn't record. Oh. And so that was actually an awesome episode that no one ever got to hear. And I'd love to get every virtual GM on, honestly, to share their experiences. But we've got you here today, and you were like the OG, right? And so you and Allison was the very first.
Allison was the first one.
Mm-hmm. She was the OG, and then you took over. And so I really want to talk about like the growth of virtual GM over the past, because how long have you been doing it? 4 years?
Oh, 3.
3 years, yeah. So talk about the evolution of that, how we've made it so much better, how you found ways to allow the virtual GMs to have a better work-life balance, all of the good things that exist. But we can start with a segue. As everyone knows, we run on EOS. So hit us with your business and personal best from last week.
Okay, business. All right. So my personal best, we have a client in Eugene, Oregon, and this is his second property, the local motel and shops. And we got that live last week on WebRes, which is very exciting.
So excited. We've known this was in the works for a while. The owner, his name is Jordan Iverson. Go check him out on Instagram. He's an amazing designer.
Amazing.
Like he took this roadside motel, and it's probably it's
so
maybe
cute.
The best roadside motel that there is now. I mean, it is
definitely
stunning. His design is unbelievable. I think there's like over 150 custom pieces of artwork that he put in all of the rooms on those clipboards. Not one is similar. He didn't spare any expense on design or amenities. Like it's as good as it gets. He is just so freaking amazing. You can book right now. We've got a promo going. If you're listening to this and it's still May, then you can get 20% off. We've got some exciting things going on in Eugene in the month of June. So June's going to be crazy. If you can't find any occupancy in June, come see us in July. And you're just gonna have a great experience. But yeah, super excited to get that going.
Exciting.
Okay, so then that was your business. What was your personal?
Well, last week we went to Vegas and celebrated your birthday and anniversary. So that was really nice to get away, take that time away from work and the kids and just have fun as adults.
We went for the Lovers and Friends concert.
Which got canceled.
Usher, Lil Jon, Ludacris, and a lot of controversy on that one.
Yeah. Real sad about it.
I still can't believe they canceled it. And they only canceled on social media. So it was a dramatic thing for some people because people flew all over the world to go see this. And if you didn't have social media, like we would have literally not known.
No. And I'm just thankful that we live 2 hours away. So we were just like, oh, okay, whatever. We'll get our money back. But yeah, pretty sad for some people. Lots of comments.
I mean, the one thing is, if you're stuck somewhere without anything to do, Vegas isn't a bad place to be stuck, right? It could be worse. Could have been in like Omaha or something.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Okay, so mine, this isn't very unique, but mine are the exact same.
Oh,
so
wow.
Getting the local motel and shops up and running. Well, that one's really cool because we've been working with Jordan for like almost exactly a year, I think. And we knew this was in the works. He's got another amazing property in Eugene downtown called the 505. Go check that out, the505eugene.com. Again, incredible design. Every room has a different theme, incredibly unique. And it's been so fun to see him have some real success This month he's already up over 50% year over year. Same with June. So it's amazing to see that. And I can't wait to get the local performing. And now like they're going to do so much more because they can work together, you know? So I'm excited to figure out creative ways to market that. And then of course, going to Vegas for my birthday. If you've listened to the podcast, you know, we're big fans of Resorts World. Absolutely love it. Love the Crockfords. Thanks to our American Express Aspire card, who could potentially be a sponsor of the podcast one day. Got that upgrade thanks to the diamond status, and the rooms are amazing. The hotel's incredible. It's my favorite place to stay.
Yeah, I love it.
You know,
Wouldn't stay anywhere else.
The Fontainebleau just opened up across the street, and I was like really jazzed for that. That's another, you know, $4+ billion property. Couldn't wait to go over there and see it. I thought it was going to be like so epic, and really disappointing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just the layout just
doesn't have that
strange.
vibe.
Yeah.
Doesn't, yeah, it's just
strange.
Missed the mark somewhere. I don't know. Food's great though.
Food was amazing.
Food is so good. We went to Komodo. That was like an Asian fusion, and whew,
yeah,
talk about probably the most flavorful noodle dish I've ever had.
Wow.
You don't think so?
No, it was. I mean, it was so good.
Come on. You never had a better noodle dish in your life.
I mean, okay.
Well,
sure.
Maybe not. Okay. So we're going to get into the life of virtual GM. Stay to the end though, because we are going to have 3 tips for you. And these 3 tips are if you're answering the phone for your property, these are the 3 tips of how you can enhance or improve that experience. But before we get to our tips, let's just get into it. So I think what would be, I'll tell the story of kind of how it happened from my eyes,
sure.
right? Because I can remember it like yesterday. So Allison, who is one of our virtual GMs today, and grew up in hospitality. So I literally like lived in a hotel for a little bit. Her dad started the Cliff Rose, one of the best properties you could ever go to. And her family owns Watchman Villas. And so she had always worked in hospitality, worked at the Cliff Rose for a long time. Then she was running basically the virtual GM for Watchman Villas. But this was before we had any of the tools in place to do it now.
Yeah.
And was taking the phone 7 days a week for I don't even know how many years, like a lot of years at this point. A lot of years.
Yeah. She would have Kim, her mom, help her like every once in a while.
But basically always had the phones.
Always. Yeah.
And then we got the dwellings in 2020. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time we ever like had a client that wasn't like a part of the group that was an owner. And so then Allison had both of those phones and she was like, I'm done. I can't do it. I need a break. And so we found ourselves needing to hire a virtual GM for the dwellings in Watchman Villas. And I remember I was standing at the orange table with Breck and I was like, I don't know who we could get. And he's like, what about Meagan? And I knew you would be great at it, but I didn't know if you'd want to do it, you know? And so that would have been probably April-ish of 2020.
No, because I started in February of 2021.
Oh, it's 2021. Oh, I was thinking it was still COVID because I remembered we went to Palm Beach.
No, Allison was still doing it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 years.
Man, so COVID was just still ripping in February of 2021. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild to think. Okay. So then that was February of 2021. So come talk to you about the opportunity. You decide to take it. And then that was your first time back in the work. I mean, I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, it was really scary. I feel like up until then, I really just wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, right? But at that point, I wanted to contribute more than just taking care of our family. But like, you know, financially.
Yeah, at this point, like we were doing, did you have the dogs at this time? Those dogs you were taking care of?
Oh, did I start dog watching then? Maybe I was.
I think you were like at the transition out of having those Labradoodles you would go take care of every day.
So for that all 2020, I was just taking care of dogs. Yes. No. And 2019.
Right. Because you were just finding a way. We had young kids. And so you're like, I want to help a little bit. And
yeah. I'm like, let's dog watch.
Yeah.
that was
hated
fun.
And loved it.
I loved it. But at that point it was like, okay, well maybe I'm ready for something more. Right.
So how old was Cash at that time then? 4?
Yeah. No, 5.
5.
Yeah, 5. So at this point, you come to me and I was like, oh, I was already thinking like I would like to get a job, but a job where I can still take care of my kids, still be at home. Right. And so it just worked. It was like fate.
Yeah.
And so starting, it was just me. And that was for Watchman Villas and the dwellings. And I think I trained with Allison for like 3 weeks. Like I was going over there and there was just so much to learn and go over. I've never been in hospitality, right? Been in a lot of customer service jobs, which I'm really good at.
What's funny is that you were actually in sales jobs. You just didn't like sales. So you just consider them customer service, but
you're right.
Sales jobs.
You're right.
That's
Yeah.
why you change that in your mind to make it what you wanted it to be. But none of those were customer service jobs. They were all sales jobs.
Well, I mean, you still have to give customer
I know,
service
but
in sales.
you were a salesperson.
Yeah, but sold them on customer service. So anyway, so that started, right? So it was like 3 weeks of training, which is crazy, right? For 2 properties, but I didn't know any of it. And at that point, Watchman Villas was on ResNexus.
That's right.
And the Dwellings was on
WebRes Pro.
Mm-hmm. And so it was a lot to learn. And
we didn't have any text messaging features.
Nothing. There was nothing automated. So everything had to be sent out manually.
Wow.
Which is crazy. And so I did that. I was doing that for 7 days a week, right? It was
because you had the phone 7
overload.
days a week. Yeah. So you went from, because you stopped working when you got pregnant with Olivia, and you didn't work like in a job.
So like since like, I think I had my last job in 2011.
Yeah. So that's 5 years. Or no, that would have been a decade.
10 years.
Wow. Must have been nice.
Well, I owned my own business after, silly. But yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just raising a family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 24-hour work job. So on top of taking care of our kids, who
Yep.
are very young at this point, I also now have this job, which requires me always. I'm on call always, which was really stressful. And so nothing in place as far as automation. And so I was like, how can I make this easier for me?
Yeah.
Because this is a lot, like all these different platforms, nothing's going out to guests. Like I'm getting so many calls of like questions that, are simple to answer.
What's the Wi-Fi password?
Yes. And so at that point, like Airbnb, I remember nothing being set up. I was like, there's got to be a way to like send this out without me doing it. And so
I don't even think I knew that.
Yes. So I found scheduled messages. So what I would normally be sending out, I can just schedule it. It goes out a couple days before they arrive, right? It takes that off of my plate,
Yeah.
which was really nice. And then I think at that point, we were looking into Whistle, right? It wasn't long after that we got
Whistle was first. And I think what's important is we've got to tell the Palm. Where did we go?
Oh, we were going to Florida for a
What
conference.
was that town called?
Destin. Well, we went to Panama City Beach.
Panama City, that's the one. So we're going to Panama City, and we're going for the like the VRMA
Oh, right.
conference. And so we were going. It was me, you, Breck, Drez, and Allie. And
This is my first time away from the kids.
Yes,
But at
Becca
this point,
came to watch her kids, right?
Yes. I was telling you, like, my brain is on
fried.
overload, right?
Yeah.
Our house was tiny. I'm working at our dresser in our bedroom. I don't have a workspace. I don't have a desk.
Yeah.
If I'm getting a call, I took it so seriously because I wanted to be so good that like the kids would be screaming and it would stress me out.
Yeah.
So I'm in this workspace.
You were frazzled, boy.
Oh, yeah.
That's when we knew it's not feasible for someone to do this 7 days a week.
Not feasible and be sane.
No. And so we're on the plane. Okay. So we're in Vegas. We're flying to Florida. We're on the plane. You, me, Drez, and Allie. And we're like, where's Breck?
And I booked all the tickets.
And Meagan, because that's what Meagan does. If you listen to episode 1, her travel tips were plan and research. So she books everything. And Breck calls us and he goes, guys, and we're going to Denver and then Florida.
Yes.
He's like, guys, my ticket is going to Midway, to Chicago. And Meagan looks at me and she goes, I told you I'm tired.
I said, I told you I wasn't okay. Now this proves it.
And thank goodness he finagled his way on the plane.
Thank goodness.
I mean, he would have made it there anyways, but that would have sucked.
Yeah.
And so he was able to get on the plane with us and they rerouted him. But that's when it was like, okay. That was like the sign of like, I know you'd been saying you weren't okay, but you're really not actually okay.
Yeah, my brain
so we got to find a solution.
overloaded.
And that's when all that transition happened, like Whistle that you talked about.
And then getting somebody else to take the calls on the weekend.
Yeah.
Being on call is stressful just in itself, right? Like always having to be on. And at that point, we didn't have anything set up. So I was getting calls at midnight, 2 a.m, right? People wanting to book or cancel their reservation.
It's crazy to think of how it was. It's like you forget how it even was back then.
Yeah. So you just never knew. Right? I'd go to bed. Hopefully I can sleep all night, but maybe I'm going to get a call. Maybe I'm going to get multiple calls. That was challenging.
Yeah.
Right. But then we got Whistle, which was our first messaging system.
Yeah. Whistle was great.
Yeah, it was great. And just taking that part and automating it, right? And sending out those messages that I would normally be sending out. Bless you. That was a game changer.
Excuse me.
Bless you. So.
And so what all were we sending at that time? Were we using it in the same capacity we do now? Door code, welcome.
At that point, yes.
And we also had the AI too, so it was answering like what's the Wi-Fi, things like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just having that go out to the guests was a huge game changer. Setting up those scheduled messages in Airbnb was a huge game changer.
And then we set them up on WebRes too, right?
We switched Watchman over to WebRes.
That's right.
And then that way we could toggle back and forth between properties.
Oh, right. Because at that time you'd have to log out of one and into the other.
Yeah.
And ResNexus, I think if I remember right, didn't work good on the phone.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. But personal preference, right?
Yeah.
WebRes is what I know, and I've seen many PMS systems. It is my favorite.
Yeah.
Definitely. So that really transformed it, right? Putting in those automation tools to help take that off my plate of remembering, right? Because
that's a lot.
Easy to forget. You know, you think you have it in place, that you're doing it every day, but it's easy, you know?
Yeah. Well, especially when you've got two
Kids.
different properties and a life and all that going on, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we really transformed it. Now, when we hire somebody new, I'm like, okay, here's your sheet of logins. It's really easy. There's not a lot of training. You know, you show them the basics through WebRes. And
WebRes is pretty intuitive. Like you can get in there and figure it out.
I agree. Well, there's like 4 ways to do one thing. So.
And there's also tutorials for days.
Yes.
The video tutorial for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So now, so thinking about where Virtual GM was now, and I think what's so cool and what I love about what we do is we don't hide the fact that you guys are moms and you have kids and you have lives. So it's like you might be. In fact, I remember going to catch a soccer game just a few weeks ago and someone called and you're like switching their room.
Yes.
At the dwellings, like, well, we're on the way to soccer practice, you know, or the soccer game. And you might take a call in the pickup line at school and make a reservation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and our owners know that. There's not this misconception that like the virtual jams are sitting at a desk all day.
Right.
Just waiting for the phone to ring.
Mm-hmm.
The way that we make it feasible and affordable for the properties is by allowing you guys that flexibility to, you know, like 3 of our virtual GMs have kids under 1 year old.
Yeah.
Or
babies.
I guess Charlotte's over 1 now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But babies still.
Babies.
You know? We'll be on a conference call and Becca will have Dan on her lap or Allie will have Liam.
But I love it.
Yeah. And I think it's awesome that I don't ever want to hide the fact of what it is. Like,
right. And I think at the beginning, right, I was trying to
hide
make
that
my
fact.
environment so perfect.
Yeah.
Like I'm in this office. Well, I'm not, right? I have kids. Sorry if you hear my kids screaming in the background. As long as I'm delivering a good customer like service experience, it shouldn't matter what's going on.
Well, it also does make you human. And I think where so many things are replaced by automation,
relatable,
right?
For sure.
Then it's like, oh, she's just a person like me. Like
Yeah.
I hear the kid, and oftentimes like,
I remember those days,
yeah.
you know?
And I remember Becca sharing stories of like Dan cooing or something, and they're like, wait, is that a baby? And
Yeah.
then they want to talk about it. And like
Yeah.
Lisa always says, like, oh, they're my friends now, you know? And so I think it creates this real human connection. And you'll see it if you go to our reviews. Like so the dwellings is a great example because we've been doing it since they opened.
Yeah.
Like we're the only ones that have ran that property. And so if you go, they have like over 250 5-star reviews. I mean, it is truly remarkable. And that's without on-site staff, right? So it's just amazing. And if you go through and see all those reviews, oftentimes they're going to mention you or Becca or Allison and I just think it's so cool what we've been able to create.
Definitely. And
You
I've
know?
even had guests call back to book and they're like, wait, I talked to you last year. I'm like, yep, just me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know, so they really get that connection, which is cool.
So we talked about how it was when you started. So what is like the full experience now? Like what all is at your arsenal now to allow you to successfully execute the role?
Well, WebRes, we now have Akia, which has been amazing. And even Whistle had like the automated messages were great. Akia,
There's a whole nother level.
yeah, they're really innovative. And I feel like they created this product and they just keep adding all these amazing things to it.
Yeah, like the
Pretty
room
much.
books are amazing that are built into it.
Oh,
and-
yes. Adding the digital room books has been huge.
Yeah.
Like cutting down on phone calls, even text messages.
You think how
because
many
you're just
less calls
providing
you get now?
so
Also
many
talk
less.
about, because part of what you did for the calls was your answering service, right?
Yes.
So talk about that because I think that's a huge deal. Because I mean, I remember I used to get
Oh,
100 phone calls a day.
so many phone calls. So now, well, we use Mango Voice, which I really like. I've never used any voice over IP services before, but now we have it set up where we have business hours, which is really nice. And so guests who call outside of business hours, if it's an emergency, they can press 1. It will route you through to us. If it's not, they can leave a voicemail where we will return their phone call. And in the day, they have the same option. It will just come through to us. If not, they get a voicemail, they get a call back, which has cut down tremendously.
Yeah.
But I think having the room books, right, providing all that information up front answers a lot of the questions the guests would have.
Yeah, because how many
normally.
times are you getting calls from people who were there?
So many.
Right. And now we do such a better job. We've got room books. So there's like a physical room book physically in their space.
Yeah.
But then they've got this digital room book and we're sending it out to them 3 days prior to arrival.
Exactly.
So they're getting the opportunity, episode 1, tip 3, research, to do their research prior to the coming. Right.
Right.
And so they're able to look at it all. Everything is in there. There's automation built in. So if they're asking those generic questions that the answer is always the same, we're able to answer that without you guys even having to be involved.
Yeah. I mean, it really has made a tremendous difference.
Yeah, and we've used 3 different ones. We've used Whistle, Kipsu, and Akia. Whistle was great, and then Whistle got acquired by Cloud Beds, and so we no longer got, like, because we were a WebRes client, we didn't get the evolution of their product.
Exactly.
So if you're on Cloud Beds, I'm sure Whistle's still awesome.
Totally.
And we
I
really
loved
loved
Whistle.
it. I have nothing bad to say about Whistle. Kipsu is who Hilton uses, and for Hilton it was great, but for us it was terrible.
Yeah, I would not recommend it for a small property.
No, did
doing
not
virtual
work
jam.
for us at all. Akia is absolutely amazing. If you're listening to this and you're managing even if you have a big property, I
Oh,
think
totally.
like Perry has 100 rooms and they use it and it's great, you know?
is.
So I think for anything from 5 to 100 rooms, Akia is incredible. So well worth it. I think it gives the guests a better experience.
Yeah.
There's the automation for pre-arrival, during their stay. In fact, we had a review for the dwellings. I can't remember if it was on Airbnb or Expedia, but
where
they
they
said
like, oh, they checked in with us not long after we were there. We love that. And it gives them the opportunity. A lot of people like to text, right? But if you're
Yes.
asking them for their feedback, a lot of times if it's negative, you can usually solve that or
Right.
address it while they're staying. Whereas if you're not, and then you just get a bad review, right? Something you could have fixed.
yeah, and without
can't.
the messaging option, you're not calling all the guests, and that'd be annoying anyway. So you
Oh, it
probably
would
wouldn't
be
appreciate that. But so this particular guest, do you remember, was it on TripAdvisor or was it like an Expedia review? Do you remember?
I think it was an Expedia review.
So, because if you're listening and you want to go check it out, you can go to the dwellings and see. But the guest had mentioned that they checked in, and the dwellings is on a cliff and has these amazing views, but it's also in the desert, so like the windows get dirty, right? And so they checked in, and they said shortly after checking in, but they reached out to see how our stay was. We let them know, like, we love it. It's just I wish the windows could be cleaner so we could see the view. And then we sent a housekeeper in to go clean the windows like right after.
Yeah.
So it's like that was the perfect accumulation of the processes that we built and those fail safes for guest experience, right? Because if we didn't check in, they would have just left being like, that sucked. The windows weren't clean to their
Right.
liking, right? And maybe they leave us a 3-star or a 2-star review because of it. But now what was a negative became a positive.
Definitely.
Because they're like, wow, they are so on top of it, you know? And those are things we didn't have in the beginning.
I know. And nobody's going to, well, I mean, some people might take the time to call and say that, right?
Yeah,
But through text, it just makes it so easy.
right. So you've got that. So you've got the answering system with Mango Voice. Then you've got your Akia. And I think also we set all those parameters up in WebRes that made it better too. Oh, the other thing I love about Akia is that they signed the guest agreement.
Yes, which we did. Yeah.
That's
you could do a guest agreement in WebRes, right? But it sends it through email.
Yeah.
This way it sends it through text message. And so you're getting their signature and you can put whatever you want on the guest agreement, right? You can have them upload your driver's license. You can have them put in their credit card, which then transfers over to WebRes for like incidentals.
Yeah.
So you can really customize it with what you want, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. I mean, Canalside takes advantage of the ID thing. I know that they use
And the
that.
credit card. So
and the
then
credit card, yeah.
they're not having to call each guest, especially through third parties who aren't
It's a pain
getting
in the
their
ass. Also, the third parties do not listen to the prompts and will call you. Expedia will call you at 11.
Yeah, they will. They're like, yeah, we're a guest. We have an emergency.
And really, it's a guest trying to change a reservation for 3 months
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah, that's okay. That doesn't happen that often, which is really nice. But yeah, so having those set up, which is really great. The guest agreement plus Akia, they're great to work with. They're
Yeah.
fast to respond. Their customer service is amazing. they help you customize it how you want. You're not like just on your own building it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And it seems like they're so flexible. Like anytime we need to do something, you guys are able to just adapt it and do it and use it.
Yes.
It's been such an awesome partnership. I'm so thankful for that. And then another thing that's cool too is that not only are we taking care of all of that guest interaction, but then you guys are also going and responding to the reviews too. So like you see, like if you go to the dwellings, Meagan is the one responding to the reviews. And there's a statistic out there in hospitality that like 92% of people check TripAdvisor before making a booking decision.
Wow.
And I don't have all the data. You and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, does it matter that we respond to the reviews?
I wonder.
I don't have the data to say yes, but I have to imagine that it does, because we're going to respond to good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes.
Right? Like no matter what, we're responding to them. But I think what it does show is a level of dedication to the property. Because if you're looking at it and every review has been responded to, you just know that there's an attentive person.
Well, and respect to the guests, right? They took their time to write a review. We're going to take our time to respond. Like we're just matching them on that level.
That's a great point. And part of what we do too to allow the success with reviews is using Akia to ask for it.
Right. We ask them for a rating. And if the rating is a 4 or a 5, then we send them the TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
Where if it's a bad review, it doesn't ask them, which is really nice. And then it allows you to address them separately.
And take care of it for them. Yeah, which we do such a good job of, I think, adapting in the event that we need to, right? Making it right for the guests. So anything else you want to share about the life of a virtual GM?
It's worth it. I mean, I can't imagine being able to have the life I have and still be a mom and take care of all those responsibilities while still having this job that it really has so much flexibility.
Yeah.
Because there's days, and especially in the slow season, right? Because a lot of the properties we manage do have a slow season.
Yeah, there's a seasonality to all of them.
Right. And so in the slow season, I mean, there are months. Maybe I get a phone call a day. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, it's so much less work. And so then of course in the busy season, it's more, but it's nice. You look forward to that.
Yeah.
I
think it is, and it's been cool for our kids too, because then they get to see you working.
Yeah.
So they get to see like your contribution and what you're doing. And obviously you do so much more than virtual GM, but at the beginning, that's just what you were doing, you know? And I think it's just been remarkable. And seeing our virtual GMs have babies and still be able to get through it.
Cool.
And you guys all support each other in such an amazing way. And we're able to just create huge savings. I mean, like this one property we just signed, and we're going to do virtual GM for them. They were like, man, this is saving us like 120 grand a year versus the staffing model we were going to use.
Wow.
That now we don't have to, because your biggest expenses as an owner are either going to be your mortgage or your payroll. Those are your two biggest, right? And so if we can help mitigate one of those, and I'm so confident in what we offer now that it's going to be a good experience. I don't have any concern whatsoever about us offering a good virtual GM experience.
Well, now we've been doing it for so long. It's proven,
Yeah,
right? Like
we
I
have a
don't
proven
think any
process.
guest is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they didn't have anybody, because we're available by phone or text.
Yeah.
Anytime you need.
And
right?
we make it really clear that we're not on property. So we set that
Lots of
appropriate
communication.
expectation, right? So the guests don't feel frustrated. Okay, so we promise you 3 tips. These are your 3 tips if you're answering the phone for your property that you can do to have a better experience. So I'm going to kick us off with tip number 1. And that is have a dedicated phone line. Whether you're using a VoIP like Mango Voice or you just have a specific phone, don't intermingle your personal life with your work life, because you're never going to give yourself a break. So have that dedicated line. So when it rings, you can turn on the smile and bring the heat and the energy, and that is just solely for your property.
Okay, number 2, have enthusiasm when you answer the phone. I think that it goes a long way when the guests feel like, oh, this person's really happy. Like they want to help me,
Absolutely. You can hear a smile through the phone.
You can. And I think it goes a long way.
Without a doubt. Tip number 3 is utilize technology. We talked about Mango Voice. That's a voice over IP. We talked about Akia. There's so many things that you can do, even just like what Meagan said about using those prompts. So that way, if you are running a property by yourself and you don't want to take a reservation at 2:00 in the morning, let the guests know that you're not open. Many properties don't have overnight staff. Like that's a very common thing, that someone's not going to be on the phones. And if you're a smaller boutique property, there's no expectation that you need to make that reservation at 3:00 in the morning, especially if you have a good PMS and you're readily available online. They can call back during business hours, or you can return the call. And one thing we didn't talk about with Mango Voice that I think is important And it also records all the calls. So as an owner, if you're utilizing a service like Virtual GM and you want to know how your team is doing, you can go and listen to those recordings. And so it really gives them that like sense of confidence and ease, knowing that like their guests are really being taken care of. But that's it. I mean, that is the life of a virtual GM.
Yeah, there you have it.
And you're going to get so much more of that because in season 2, we've got this beautiful co-host, Meagan, who is a virtual GM. And so now we're going to have lots of virtual GM stories.
Yeah.
We're going to intertwine that throughout every episode. You're going to get such a different perspective from that side of the business, which I can't wait to share with all of you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to learn more about virtual GM, or if you're interested in utilizing that service, you want to have a discovery call, you can reach out to me. You can email me at Cody, that's CODY, at thevibrantteam.com, and you can hop on a call with Meagan and I. We can walk you through the process and see if virtual GM is a good fit for you. But we'd love to work with you. We'd love to help your business. And most importantly, just thanks for listening. And I hope this helps.